Grand Rising family, and welcome back. This is Shay Seeking, and this is Not Your Mama's Bible Study, along with some His Story Lied. Today, we're going to go ahead and do another book share because I'm kind of like on a roll with these book shares, and I'm coming across a lot of information that I hadn't seen before. So, I've been having to do a lot of nitpicking and basically going into some text, but then some things were altered in Google Books. So I had to take out articles of the books, put them in Google, try to find out where I can find the information somewhere else. And I actually found something that was really telling. But again, I started to go back into that and then fell into this book. So again, I'm just going to do a lot of book shares over the next couple of days, just to share these books with you guys in case you have more time than I do to go ahead and go through them. Yeah, because in my eyes, it's not who puts the information out. It's just that the information gets out. So again, I want to thank all my soul siblings for supporting the channel, and for those of you guys that came over to the group and joined the group. And we're going to go ahead and get right into this. So hopefully I'll be able to get 2 done tonight. Hopefully. So yes, I am kind of going into the books, looking for images right away and looking for certain terms right away, and in order to see, what we can find or if it's even worth the read, because a lot of these books will be about Aboriginal America, American Indians, the origins and all this other stuff, and it'll mention Negroes maybe 30 times, and sometimes it only mentions it once. But I'm thinking, why would it have anything to do with Negroes if there was no one here by that name, or if there was no one here that looked like those particular people? Why do we always have to be put into these books that are talking about the ancient Americas again if we weren't here? So again, it's just to basically get the information out so that you can share with your family, with your friends or whatnot, hopefully with children in your community, things like this. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get into it. So it's called The Narrative and Critical History of America, Aboriginal America. And this is from 1889. But I think they're talking about some information that might be even prior to that. So I already know what I wanted to show you guys is below this, but I always like, how I always like to go a paragraph or two back up so we can actually see where we're coming from to see where we're at. Same thing with the Bible. I try to give it to you right there, but a lot of times we'll have to go up a couple verses and down. So it says, when Columbus, approaching the mainland of South America, imagined it a large island. Okay, now again, we talk about this too in the biblical aspect, about this land that was supposed to be surrounded by water. So before they came and put these borders, okay, we don't know exactly how it was, but again, before they came and put their borders, was it just one whole landmass that was surrounded by water, or what? So a large island, he associated it with that belief so long current in the old world, which placed the cradle of the race in the Indian Ocean. Okay. Again, I think that the cradle of so-called races, or the race here, is that little panhandle from Mexico, and maybe that is the Indian. No, I always forget what this water is here, but you know what I'm talking about, right there, near Mexico and uh, Texas and all that. Okay, where a lot of ancient ruins and stuff are starting to be found or have been found. Okay, so a belief which in our day has been advocated by whoever this person is. And imagine he was on the coast skirting an interior, okay, where lay the Garden of Eden. Okay, so there's one thing right there. Let's see. Okay, so I guess this is his book here, Races of Men. So anyway, when you get these older books like this, they usually have things like this in here that tie into it, because they didn't want to pack of course, different people were writing about these things, but sometimes I notice that they don't want to pack all the information, so they say we have reserved that portion for another book. Because again, who was able to get these books like this at the time when they were um, subduing and replenishing the earth, okay, and restricting them from certain things, okay? So let's see. And I'm already getting tired, but we ain't gonna let that, excuse me, we're not gonna let that get in the way. Sorry. Okay, so again, where lay the Garden of Eden? No one had then ventured on the belief that I'm trying not to move around too much because things are acting real strange on this PC today. Um, taking forever to load and things like that. So I'm trying not to move it around too much. So no one had then ventured on the belief that the doctrine of Genesis must be reconciled with any supposed counter testimony by holding it to be but the record of the Jewish race. Columbus was not long in his grave when Theo, we'll just call him that, in 1520, and before the belief of the continuity of North America with Asia was dispelled. And consequently, before the question of how man and animals could have reached a new world was raised, first broached the heterodox view, okay, of the plurality of human race. Now, I don't even have etymology up here, and I really don't want to have to put it up unless we really have to. Maybe the plurality is about the dual kind of thing. I'm not sure. Like, I'm just saying this right now. Of the human race, you know, like a lot of people say that there was a Tartaria here in America, there was Tartaria over on that one. Again, I call them the two continents, okay, because they're both large land masses surrounded by water. So America will be this one, and then Eurafriasia will be that one, okay. So let's see. Oh, so then like ancient Egypt in America, and then the modern day Egypt over there now. So things like that, okay. All the early disputants on the question of the origin of the American man looked either across the Atlantic or Pacific for the primitive seed. Now, primitive, prior to, prime, I don't know, I use primordial, prior. Again, primitive seed would be the archetype, which is the original that other beings were modeled after. Okay? Okay. So in the Americas, when they came to plant their seed in Genesis, okay, which is the Old Testament, I'm not sure how the Quran works, but possibly that has something to do with that landmass, okay, overseas. Because I would believe, excuse me, that there's a lot more, or had been at some point, a lot more Muslims or Muslims, okay, over there than there would have been here in the Americas, okay. So again, for the primitive seed, so that's where they came to look for this. Nor was there any necessary connection between the arguments for an autochthonous, okay, American man, okay, and a diversity of race. When Fabricus in 1721 published the whatever this is in another language on the opinions of those who held that different races had been created from the day the old Orthodox interpretation of the record in Genesis, okay? So again, of the record in Genesis. So the record of what? Is this some kind of storyline that we should be reading as if it's just some story that we would never know if it was true or not, and it's just, since it's on the religious aspect, we can just imagine these things happened instead of finding some type of proof. But then, oh, again, they can find, there's keep trying to find some kind of proof overseas, okay, for these things as if they are real history. So we have to make up our mind. Is it historic? And me telling you, like I've been trying to say all this time and trying to share information or different correlations with you guys. Because again, I'm not here to tell you what it is, what it ain't. I'm just here to share with you what it looks like to me. And the more I dig in on this, the more I'm finding out that people were saying the same thing that I'm saying now, and people like me are saying now, way back then. Okay. And this is something that was not ever told or showed to anyone. It is a part of some of us that are a part of this whole rising, or this grand rising, in Great Awakening. A lot of us, this just kind of is something that just happened, you know. So again, of the record in Genesis found no contestant of mark till the question came up in relations to the American man, it being held quite sufficient to account for the inferiority, okay, or other distinguishing characteristics of race by assigning them to the influence of climate and physical causes. Again, we know now that this is maybe ridiculous about the whole thing about people being in different places and that's why their skin is certain colors. Yes, a tan or something, but the whole gist of it, I mean, come on, okay? So the strongest, so either they were just forcing this stuff because it sounded good at the time, and these were really some not so smart people back then that thought that we would not be able to comprehend one day, or, you know, I don't know. They planned on us never seeing any of these things here. The strongest presentation of the case in considering the American man a distant product of the American soil. Again, the American man a distant product of the American soil. Here we are talking about soil or earth or land or dry land, or again, what your Bible says earth is also pertaining to the earthly beings or the inhabitants of a place, the earliest inhabitants, as well as being aboriginal or autochthonous to a place. Again, natives are not originals. They're normally mother and father from somewhere else that have come here or to a place. Aboriginals are the earliest. Autochthonous is kind of like the same, but it goes a little deeper. Indigenous are people who are the offspring or had something to do with joining with the woman, okay, which they would have into hold, which would be the land and all the inhabitants of the land. Okay, so we're not talking about, when we're talking about leaving their mother and father and cleaving onto their wife, we're talking about the land. This is America, her, okay, and her children, okay. So again, those are immigrants or people that came here in order to help populate by bringing their own gene or mixing in with the people that were already here, such as $5 Indians and people, slave masters. Again, we keep thinking that it was just about the work. They were already doing the work here. Trading was already going on. People were already coming to America. There was already trade going on prior to this. Okay, the first boats though that came here were and were waiting at the ports to even be able to come in like that were merchants. Okay, and all of these groups have things to do with the caste system that was created by the God of creation, which is creating his nation on top of a prior or primitive nation that is already there. So when I'm telling you that Genesis is about history, it is about the prehistoric or pre-adamite, and with mixing with Adam, but it's starting with their creation of their subgroups or sub races on a nation that was here. Okay, and this is why they had to replenish the earth, okay, and subdue it. You don't have to subdue earth. This is because we're talking about people. The earth is just there. Okay. This is why we're talking about people in that aspect. No matter what the concordance, where it directs you when it's using these terms, it doesn't have every single place where it's using these terms, is what I'm saying. So you have to use your own discernment in order to see what we're talking about at those times. So, um, and yeah, so let's keep going to see what they say. Um, okay. Uh, okay. The American man, a distant product of American soil with no connection with the old world. That would just sound kind of ridiculous, but what does it say? 10. The idea in general was not wholly new. Okay. All right. So again, think Old World, Old Testament. The reason why the stories sound kind of familiar, but not that familiar, because they half-ass tell us about them, but they don't really tell you about them. Okay. So this is how I saw it. It's just something that happened. I was reading the Bible. I always try to read it regular, like a storybook, like everyone else. And I couldn't get down with it. I had to stop and reread and research and do etymology and things with the words. And then that's when it started to really come to life for me. But I had to be in a certain state of mind. I had gone through a thing with this God that they had us, well, had me in tune with, or thinking that I was in tune with. And I had to go ahead and go within, and I had to go through a thing and come back out in order to see. Okay. So again, if everybody is not on that, they can make fun all they want, they can get mad all they want, but if nobody is on that level of seeing this thing, then you can't be the one to tell me what I need and should want to do. Okay. So except in the case of Eskimos, was made when S.G. Morton in 1839 printed the Crania Americana. I think I've seen that one before. The skulls of various nations of North and South America. Second edition. Okay, we're going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit. Very likely in ignorance of the fact that the governor, okay, 1766, Dr. Morton gathered a collection of nearly 1,000 skulls. Okay, so I think this is where I wanted to go down here. Let's see. The views of Morton respecting the autochthonous origin of the Indian found an able upholder when Louis Agassiz, maybe, taking the broader view of the independent creation, again, of the independent creation of a higher and inferior race. Okay, and that is listed as 1. And let's see what it says. Oh, it wants to take me back up here. That's silly. Mexico. There's a lot pointing to a lot of different things that I had no, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so give in his adhesion to the original American man. Okay, these views got more intensive expression in publication, which appeared in Philadelphia in 1854, in which some unpublished papers of Morton are accompanied by a contribution from Agassiz, and all are grouped together and argumented by material of the editor Josiah, I guess, I don't know, such and such, long a resident in Cairo. I wonder if this is Cairo, Illinois, because again, in that show American Gods, he was talking about something about the after the war in 1860 something or 50 something maybe, was when they started their morgue, or burying the dead or whatever in Cairo. And he also said something about now they receive all the people within the vicinity. And I was wondering, that's kind of, it's not too close to Chicago, but if you have a private plane or jet or something, when all of these people are being shot and killed in Chicago, this will be a perfect place. I mean, if you've seen the episode, you'll know what I'm talking about. For them to be going and digging around in heads and removing certain things of these people within a couple of days that it takes for them to then let you bury your dead or deceased. What's going on within those amount of days? So the types of mankind meet with a divided reception. Uh, the conservation theologians called it pretentious and false, and there was some color for their detraction, and some rather jejune exposition of the Hebrew scriptures contained in the book. So, I don't know. The physiolo wait the physiolo why isn't it just thought it be brought new vigor to a question which properly belonged to science. Okay. Let's see what it says here. It says evident that the skull capacity is no sure measure of intelligence, and the Indian custom of misshaping the head of offers some. I'm really sorry. I'm trying to read this best I can, but I just been on the screen for so long. I think I'm starting to just see it kind of blurry, and you guys see that the writing is kind of faint, and I struggle anyway. So again, please be patient and bear with me. So, okay. And if I make it too big, it's going to be blurry. So, again, you can always stop and just take the link and, get to it. So, let's see. Indications of ancient customs suggest that certain cranial forms. Okay, so these are just little things right here. Bones of natives, American, Peabody. Okay, see, these are just probably different writings and different people who spoke on these things. And it says, an anonymous book, The Genesis of Earth and Man, and I might want to tap into that one, places the Negro as the primal stock and traces out the higher races by variation. So, just because I'm pretty much done with this, hold on. Let's see. See, I need some kind of writing like this in order to. We're going to go into this too because this is talking about the history of the Indies of New Spain, and it's talking a lot about the biblical aspect. So again, this is not new. It's just something that I realized, and a lot of other people probably realize, but they're not heard because they don't want you to hear this aspect, because then you will have to dismiss the whole thing, and this will empower us and fuel us to another level that they don't want to see. So I was just going back so I can see what exactly that term was. The primal. Okay. Again, but this term, C 1600s, or again, is this the sixth day? Belonging to the earliest age. Okay, now, earliest age, what is that? That says that you were here before most of these people that are here now. Even some of the subgroups and races, no offense, because all of our lives matter at this point. Okay, but it just so happens that everybody else in the so-called world wants to demolish and actually erase from the beginning of time certain people, and that I'm talking about on this landmass, that would be the American Aborigine or the Negro. Now, any subgroups or races that came through this group of people should be aware that this happened. That doesn't mean my life matters any more than yours. Again, if I am that woman and I'm a part of those people, and if these people came through me, then these would be some form of indigenous. I didn't say this. It will be an indigenous group, which means that they are offspring or they are ties to the land. And it is told that the offspring is going to leave the woman and have a certain eye towards her. And again, this is about survival. This is about some people having a nationwide, never ending genocide going on, paper genocide and other. So, again, anyone getting offended by this, that's your problem, not mine. I am going to raise the call. If this was something that was going on to a group of elephants or something, everybody would be talking about it around the world. But since it's pertaining to the originals, okay, that a lot of people would have to look at in a different light if you know that this is the only way that you are even here. You understand what I'm saying? And we all turn our eyes and look at the real oppressors and who these people are and what they've been doing, then that is how we obtain unity, okay? Because they like to use divide and conquer and distractions, okay? Which they're doing with the news and everything right now, okay? So again, from medieval Latin, whatever, primary, primus first. Again, that's what they're saying. Doesn't matter. If we were Negroes, if we weren't Negro, somebody is saying that the Negro in 1800s is the prime or the first. So that is the autochthonous or the aboriginal, which ab just means that you've been removed from your original status as the origines. Period. Okay? Psychological sense, okay? In reference to feuds, theories, behavior springing from the earliest stage of emotional development, okay? So again, we're talking about the 1600s. We're going to have to do it. We're going to go ahead and go see what was going on in the 6th day in Genesis, because this kind of helps tie everything. Excuse me. This goes ahead and tries to tie everything kind of like in. Okay. Now, what I'm saying by saying this is that Genesis is your story to a certain extent. The Old Testament, I mean, is your story to a certain extent. Genesis and all these trees and branches and all these animals, these are representing groups of people, whether it is a coat of arms, a family crest, an animal that would be seen or resemble something that these people would use as like a flag or a symbol for them. Tribal symbols and things like this as well. Okay. And just the way that they were using these terms in order to demean or to dehumanize certain groups. Okay. Beast of the field, fowl of the air. These things, these roots and things like this, these are those branches, okay? These are those, same thing with the fruit with Eve, so-called Adam and Eve, okay? Taking that fruit. It never said apple in the first place, okay? We're talking about the fruit of their loins, or whatever you might want to call it, mixing with the trees. And then after that, in around the 1800s, even before that, they were chopping down the trees. So after they had a substantial lead on things, they started to get rid of the roots in the trees, which were the original family trees or groups, or the primordial peoples. Okay, if this makes sense. Okay. So again, we're going to go to the 6th day, and God said, let the earth bring forth every kind of animal, cattle and reptiles, wildlife, and every kind. And it was so. God made all sorts of wild animals and cattle. Again, think chattel, okay? Because they were using you as produce. You have to look at etymology for all of these terms to see how they all fit in with each other. okay? Or for food or for subsistence, or um, the tilling of the ground would be the breaking up of the ground using force or war tactics, mental manipulation with the religious members that came in as well. Um, the flooding would be bringing many people from the waters and stocking them into the great creatures that God told them to do and bring them in abundance. That is talking about the immigrants coming into the Americas. I'm not making this up. These are the terms that I found by doing my research. Most people that read the Bible, shame on you that try to come and talk stuff to people like me. You haven't done your research. What you do in church is for play, because again, that is a place that is a, and I'm not trying to be mean, and I'm not calling anybody out in that sense. That is for play, because again, you don't even know the terms, the terminology, the meanings for the words that you're reading. So again, it takes a certain kind of searching and seeking, a certain eye. So again, this is just for people that think that they know something about the Bible, and you really haven't really been and let's just be real. A lot of people that call themselves religious don't really read that book like that anyways. And if you are, you're reading it like it's some kind of fairy tale story instead of dissecting it and sifting through the word like it's said or like the word says to do. Okay? Because in the beginning, if the beginning was the word, it wasn't with your pastor, because he's just a man. And again, that's the day when I found out that that text said, let no man listen. Basically, verily, verily, I say unto you, and all that stuff that he was saying about be careful and let no man deceive you. This means your pastor too. So at the end of the day, I chose that if it's going to go down one way, it's going to be because of my understanding, not somebody else's. So again, um, yeah. So, and it was so, and God made all sorts of animals, and God was pleased with what he had done. Remember, in the beginning, he just saw the dark, chaotic mass or vapors, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and he wanted to make it light. He wanted to make it light, and it made him happy. This is the first, right there in the beginning of Genesis, is the first sign of so-called racism or separation or some type of breaking up of the so-called races, like I'm saying, okay? Right there in Genesis. And we wonder why this is such a big problem still, because subconsciously your mind is seeing this, but your other mind does not see it because you've been mass manipulated into believing we're talking about something else. So, multiply. Okay, so wait a minute. Let me stop getting distracted, okay? And for those of y'all that don't want to hear nothing about the Bible, just go ahead and, turn it off and take the link. Yeah, and God was pleased with what he had done. Again, so no matter what God this is in the beginning, this is what he wanted to do. And then he also says, let us make a man. So he must be talking to another creator because a God is creating. So another one must be there that wants to create as well. Someone like ourselves to be the master of all life upon the earth. Again, that is all the offspring, the immigrants, the aliens, and these groups of people that are now upon the earth. Okay. Again, in that pyramid that is floating above the earth in the caste system. Okay. Okay. Um, and in the skies and in the seas. Again, we're talking about in the skies, okay, or the heavens, where Trump and all them sit. The people that make moves, your celebrities, these people lie in that temple, okay? That's where they've been placed, okay, in order to be, oh, not that this means this, but it's always funny when I read it. And he made stars too, that there will be signs and wonders or whatever for whatever. Because again, we've been starstruck. So it's just funny in that way. So again, okay. Oh, and in the seas. Again, when we're talking about the seas, we're talking about the foreign groups of people that were put here for reign, because he had not caused it to reign, meaning rule over the earth yet. Okay? So the seas are referring to, like this Bible right here says, the maritime families. Go and look at your maritime and admiralty law, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay? So, God made man like his maker. Like God did God make man. Man and maiden, he made them. Again, I think these are talking about androgynous beings from my research. But again, it may not be. It may be talking about male and female. But one of these stories, I wholly believe, is talking about androgynous beings. And it could just very well be the Adam and Eve, because I know the Nag Hammadi scriptures and other writings also talks about this. And the fact that that rib that was taken to create the woman, and now I'll call her woman, because she came out of man. And again, we wonder again what this transgender thing is going on right now, when you don't even know what it's talking about in Genesis. So God made the man like his maker, okay, made man like his maker, okay. So he made man like his maker, like God did God make man. Man and maiden did he make them. Again. So God made man. I mean, you just have to really dissect that and read that and use discernment. And God blessed them and told them, multiply and fill the earth. Fill it up. Fill up the earth. We're not talking about the damn ground. We're talking about earthlings, people. And subdue it. Subdue that group. What happened? Now that we know we're aboriginals and indigenous, what happened? This is what happened. Okay? You are masters. Now, didn't they just say what? A master race, or a what did they say? What did they call them? I can't remember exactly which word was used. Inferior, or you know what I'm trying to say. Okay? So, yeah, and subdue it. Basically, you are masters of the fish, which represents the people that came here through the waters. And some of these people have this on their coat of arms. Look at the first families of lots of these places that were documented in Virginia and all these other places that they came. And the birds. Look at the coat of arms and the symbols for these places, please. And the animals. And look, I have given you the seed. Now, what did you say up there? That the Negro is the primal stock. And what did he say? Columbus went on a search for the what? Seed. Okay. So again, I have given you the seed-bearing plant. What is a plant? Have you done the etymology on a plant? And a plant can also be something that is put, or like they came here to do when they came here to seed. Who came here to seed? Planters. What did they plant? The herbs and the tobacco was already planted. These people was already making moves over here. So what was planted? They made sure they planted people into your communities to corrupt them, and then they made sure they planted their seed right up into your women in order to create seed-bearing plants throughout the earth. And this is how the fruit came to pass. And all the fruit trees for your food, your consumption, your just like I say, we feed in the belly of the beast. This is what it is. The energy. They use our energy. Again, same way they have those labs in the those lab rats in the lab doing tests, same thing they're doing with us on a larger scale. If you think that we've been put here to be birthed, sent to daycare, away from our mother, sent to school for hours, sometimes from school to daycare, for our mothers to have to leave the home so that we can't get the proper nutrition and the things that we need from her at the earliest stages, in order to go in the house of someone else that is a stranger that you know nothing about, to learn something that has no benefits for you. Once you leave school, you forgot most of the shit that you learned, to then worry yourself into going to college, to get into debt, to maybe possibly not get a job in the position that you thought you would, to maybe end up back at home with your parents, which is nothing wrong with that, because I think that's where we were supposed to stay in the first place. For someone to also, and then look at the origin of all of these things, for you to go and pay your pastor whatever percentage, 10% or whatever, every weekend to go to a church that God don't even need money, or shouldn't, if they're explaining him the way that they say that he is. And the pastor shouldn't need none either. Why he need it from me? Can't he just ask God and God provided for him? So again, if you think that this is the life that you were supposed to, wish that you could have some free time, to wish that you had some damn free time to celebrate these days that you have no knowledge of the origin of them, over and over again, rituals that you're performing, that these are rituals, okay? To listen to music that has no benefit for you. A lot of us to go to school and learn about these people that murdered and killed and pillaged and stole things and hid this from you and your children, and you wonder why? If you think that that's what we've got to eat, this processed, disgusting food, that's, we think that it's our fault, but this is what you're fed, this is what you purchased to kill yourself, to then also take a perfect child that has supposedly been created by God and given to you as a gift to the doctor to inject that child with then something that has been created in a lab that you've not looked at the label not once to see what the hell is in it. And worry about what type of shoes you're going to be wearing to the party, and to worry about what type of head covering or makeup or car or home or any of this ridiculous stuff that we think about. And instead of gardening and growing fruits and vegetables, going to the store and spending every weekend to plant flowers in your front yard to make it look pretty, to sit there and lie on the couch all day and watch television and be indoctrinated over and over again from day one, while all this other stuff is going on over your head. To then, oh, some of these kids have to go to practice and sports and all of this other stuff that's not benefiting us at all at the end of the day. Okay. So, and I have given you all the grass. Again, the grass also refers to people in the biblical aspect, okay, which is the offspring, okay. They use it in law and in history too, around the same time where I'm telling you I think the Bible was written and given, okay. And plants to the animal, okay, wait, grass and plants to the animals and birds for their food, okay. Then God looked over all that he had made, and it was excellent in every way. This ended the sixth day. So, that's the sixth day, belonging to the earliest age. That is when things start popping off, really. Is when he, in the sixth day. But there was someone there first, because we were talking about what? filling the earth with their seed. So it is what it is. That's what it says. And whatever, I don't know. I'm just here, like I said, to share. I'm not here to indoctrinate nobody. I'm not trying to get you to do anything. It should just be something that, again, we should all be doing our own research. I'm not doing anything but provoking thought. Where that leads you, I don't know, and don't blame me when you go down that rabbit hole and you can't come back out. So I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll be right back with another book share. The link for this book, if I don't forget, will be in the description. If I do, somebody just please remind me, because I'm always all over the place. So again, thanks a lot. Don't forget to join us in the Facebook group, American Aborigines Unchained. And you guys have a awesome day or night. Take care.